Karen Kina here, your glory teacher, heavenly success, and ascension specialist, coming on tonight to talk about part 2, three more reasons why you need money. Did part 1 last week, and I talked about the 3 reasons last week, 3 reasons, so this makes 6 reasons in total. I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail here. You can catch it on the replay. But what I want to share tonight, just to kind of recap the 3 reasons from last week, and I'm going into a little bit more detail today. The first reason why you need money is to be able to live in this realm. There's certain things that you have to do, right? Buy groceries, eat. Everything you do in this realm requires money. So, again, I'm not going to go into all the detail here. Second reason why you need money is because as you are sitting in the secret place, you have an assignment, you're called to do something in business and ministry. He begins to give you ideas, projects, assignments. You have products, resources, etc. that you need to create. Guess what? It takes money to cause those things that you have conceived in the realm of the spirit to come forth in the natural. So that's the second reason why. And then the last reason why we talked about last week that you need money so that you can be a blessing to someone else, and specifically a blessing to your household of faith. Some of you are in business and you feel called to business to make a lot of money so that you can do what? Help advance the kingdom. Help kingdom endeavors and ventures go forth, right? Perhaps you're a big sacrificial giver in your local assembly. So those were the 3 reasons. Now, I want to share something that I noticed last week that I thought was very, very interesting. I asked you, whether you were live or listening on the replay, I asked you all to be very generous last week with your hearts and also to share this scope. I found it very interesting that no one shared the scope, but yet we all want money. And I also found it very interesting that no one was generous with their hearts. Now, we know that our Father is a mysterious God. His ways are mysterious, that's what the scripture says, and he is like a wonder. And sometimes he is beyond figuring out, right? We just can't figure him out. Well, you know, what I have learned is that he will send someone along, like Apostle Karen Kina, to give you some instructions, or a prophet, to give you some instructions to do something. And guess what? Sometimes we just don't do it for whatever reason. Whether we think that person has ulterior motives, whether we don't believe that person is actually from God, whether we don't understand what they're asking us to do, guess what? We just flat out don't do it. Well, here's what I've learned. That's how you miss out on the supernatural. That's how you miss out on Father doing what he wants to do in your life. If you are believing for supernatural increase, you're believing for wealth. You're believing for him to give you a wealth pattern, a plan. Drop something fresh from heaven, straight from the throne, that causes you to increase in your finances. Well, guess what? Guess what? Just by following those simple instructions from last week, just by sharing, just by tapping the screen. I mean, all you had to do was put your hand on the screen and tap and be generous with your heart. And that action, that one action, could have been the very thing that released prosperity, that caused an overabundance of finances to come your way. But you missed it. You didn't obey. You didn't hear his voice through me. You just took it as another person on Periscope asking for shares and for hearts. And maybe you thought I wanted something. I didn't want anything. I was trying to get you something. I was trying to get something to you. Like Paul said, I was trying to get you a credit in your heavenly account, according to Philippians 4:17. So, I didn't have any ulterior motive. I pray that we as the body will learn to obey God's true officers, his governmental officers. I am a officer sent to you from the kingdom of heaven. And I come bearing his instructions. I come bearing heaven's agenda. And we don't even understand sometimes the things that officers in the kingdom are asking us to do. Because we don't understand, we miss it. We miss it time and time again. And then we sit back and we whine and complain about our lack and what we don't have. So, enough of that. Enough said. I pray that become a potent and powerful lesson for you to carry into your future, and that you not miss those kinds of commands that Father sends through his choice vessels. So, this week we're going to go ahead and dive on in to the next reason. This is going to be the fourth one, but the third one, right? Fourth one, but the first one for tonight, excuse me. And that's alms. That's alms, A-L-M-S. And in the last scope, I mentioned that many of us have so many material things, and the average Christian will own at least 2 new cars in his or her lifetime. And that's a modest estimate. Many of us will own 4 or more new cars in our entire life. On the contrary, many in third world countries and right here in America, places like Memphis, Tennessee, and other places where there is extreme poverty, they will never own a new car. Instead, you might find those individuals, they may have to purchase a used car with income tax money, or they may have a bicycle, or even a motorcycle, or perhaps they are bound to public transportation for their entire life. They never own one brand new car. So with that being said, you need money to help the poor. That's one reason why you need money. So, I go back to what I said last week. We, here, don't need one more material thing. We have more than enough. And we have taken Philippians 4:19 to mean that he will meet our greed instead of meet our need according to his riches in glory. And sadly, instead of taking one of the new cars that we have in our lifetime and giving it to someone who doesn't have one, we trade it in or turn it in for a new one because it was leased. And I'm not even going to get on the topic of leasing. That's a whole other mismanagement of our finances. But how about this? How about donating one of those cars that you have owned to someone that will never, ever own a car prior to buying your next car? Did you know that 1/6 of the American population goes to sleep each night without a meal? They don't even eat a meal. They go to bed without eating a meal. So while this holds true, guess what we do? We take things like drinking water, filtered water from the refrigerator, bottled water that we're able to buy, and we take that for granted. You can go look around any of our houses, look in our cars, look in our workspaces, and guess what you'll find? Bottles of half-filled water, glasses of half-filled water. This is how we show our gratitude for the fact that we have clean drinking water, and then you go over to places like China, India, Asia, Africa, and they don't even have clean drinking water. The children of China are drinking out of benjo ditches, right? Dirty places where they're having to get their water. So instead of wasting purified water and bottled water, you can use the money that you have to dig a well for somebody else to be able to have clean drinking water. We're still talking about why you need money, and that's alms. It's to do good works. It's to help the poor. This is what my husband and I did. We took money that we were blessed with, and we partnered with a ministry in Asia, and we provided an entire village with clean water. And I tell you, that blessed me and my husband beyond measure. Now the whole village has clean drinking water. So the first reason why you need money is for alms. Is to help someone else. The second reason why you need money is so that you can discern how to be a good steward. How to be a good steward. In our walk early with him, with Father, he'll bless us with things, and he'll sit back and he'll watch us to see how we handle it. He will give us money so that he can see if we will discern how to be a good steward. He will see if we've learned what to do with money. For example, many of us have given for years sacrificially to different works, different ministries, different causes. And over time, we realized that our lives and the lives of others were not being transformed, that the finances were not going right in the right place. Nothing was happening. Our lives weren't being transformed. No one else was being transformed. And then as we come into this understanding, what we begin to do is develop discernment. And we stop labeling everything as kingdom, right? We stop putting that label on it, and we stop giving to things like that. So, as you may or may not know, I am teaching a group of apostolic leaders in a community on Facebook. And a couple of weeks ago, I released a leadership assessment that Father birthed. And while I am asking the leaders to sow a seed to complete it, I'm doing so with one caveat. And the caveat is this. I want them to complete the assessment first, and then I want them to sow their seed. So in other words, what I'm saying is, this assessment will bring you into the fullness of the personality of God. It will help you understand your temperament. It will help you shut off those things that do not glorify Him, that are not like His nature. And it will bring you into a deeper understanding of your fivefold gifting. And I'm saying, hey, if this assessment does not do that, don't sow a seed. If you don't see any results, don't give. So when I first started coaching, my husband and I, 12 years or so ago, many leaders wouldn't even hire us because they felt like our prices were too high. But what they didn't know was that our exclusive coaching program would usher them into deliverance. Signs, wonders, and miracles. We've seen the deaf ears open. We've seen migraines healed. We've seen demons cast out. We've seen entire ministries move into Father's glory. Were they paying for this? No. What they were doing was being aligned to sow wisely over these 3, 6, or 9 months, depending on how long they partnered with us. And they were being positioned to come into proper spiritual alignment so that things in their lives would line up in pleasant places for them with a beautiful inheritance according to Psalm 16 and 6. And we miss that so many times. We think we're giving to benefit someone else. No, we're giving to get into position to receive our own inheritance so that things can line up in the realm of the Spirit for us. And not just financially, but in every way. So, therefore, you need money to be able to pass or fail the money test that God will send your way, because they are coming your way. Maybe you even find yourself in a money test right now. And as you continually pass test after test after test, you will gain the wisdom and the discernment, and He will bless you with more money to steward. And as I previously mentioned last week, those who manage finances well are the ones who will receive wealth. But those who don't will not be able to receive natural or supernatural riches, for if you can't even handle unrighteous mammon, surely you cannot handle God's glory. So the second reason why you need money is so that you can be able to discern how to be a good steward over it. The third reason why you need money is to humble you. That's right, to humble you. Now that you have come into the place of doing numbers 1 and 2, right? You've come into the place of giving alms. You've come into the place of wisdom and discernment, being able to judge where to give, where not to give, why to give, right? And now you're beginning to reap the seeds of what you have sown in your harvest, right? Everything is lining up for you, again, in pleasant places, according to Psalm 16 and 6. You have generously given to the poor. You have learned to discern, right? How to give, when to give, how much to give, and to hear Him clearly in that area. You've come into the understanding that not everything with kingdom on it is worthy, since it does not garner glorious results. Now, Father will use your finances to humble you. And he will do that in two ways. The first way is that he will tell you to give an exorbitant amount beyond what you've ever given before. I'm talking thousands. Right? And you're like, whoa. And he'll tell you to do that to a complete stranger or even your enemy. And this can happen anywhere, anytime. I mean, he can tell you this on the way to work. He can tell you in the cafeteria at work. He can tell you laying down in the bed, standing in your kitchen preparing meals, or even in the sanctuary. And so if you're hearing him tell you to lavishly give, even right now, even if you don't feel wealthy, even if you don't feel like you have what he is telling you to give, and you do because he wouldn't tell you to give it if he didn't know that you had it. And a lot of times he blesses us with a specific amount of money, and we don't even know what to do with it. Someone on the other end of that money that you received was praying. I'll never forget this one time. I had some money come into my hands, and it was like $480 odd, and it was a tithe, actually, above my regular salary. And I prayed, and I said, Father, where do you want me to give this money? And at the time, I was being mentored by someone in the area of scribal ministry. And Father led me to sow this particular seed into this work. And when I gave this money, the lady came back to me. She said, we were believing for that specific amount in order to complete some paperwork for the ministry in terms of our foundation and how to incorporate. And so when you get money in your hands above and beyond what you expect, and it's money like maybe it's $1,000, maybe it's $1,500, ask him, where do you want me to give it? Right? Because he gives it to you to be able to give. All right? So even if you don't feel like you've had it, have it. He has provided it. It's your job to discern what to do with it. And so that's how you get positioned for increase. Right? And then you have to humbly do what he is telling you to do with the money that comes into your hands. And that's with all the money, not some of it. That's all the time, not when you feel like it. It's sowing faithfully and cheerfully. It's more of a blessing to give than it is to receive, right? So that's the first way that he'll humble you. The second way that he'll humble you is you will find yourself in a situation where you need him in a way that money can't get you out of. Money can't fix the problem. Money is not the answer, right? And nothing can humble you like having wealth and not being able to use it to buy your way out of a precarious situation. So when you understand the purposes and the reasons for money, and you consistently pass his money test, you are in a position to receive all the finances that he desires for you to have. Because he desires for us to prosper. The scripture tells us that he delights in the prosperity of his servants. And that is not just wholeness and wellness, but it is also financial soundness, wholeness, prosperity, wealth. And it's not just for you, but it is so that you can birth and advance kingdom endeavors. So my prayer tonight, or whenever you're listening to this on the replay, is that you will be meek like Moses, and that you will steward well what you have now as well as what he is bringing your way. For these are the 6 reasons in total that he wants you to have money, and the 6 reasons why you need money. This is Apostle Karen Kina, your glory teacher, heavenly success, and ascension specialist, signing out.